The Vietnam War was a prolonged conflict that lasted from 1955 to 1975. It was fought between North Vietnam, which was supported by the Soviet Union and China, and South Vietnam, which was supported by the United States and other allies. The war was a result of the Cold War tensions between the communist and capitalist ideologies, and the United States' efforts to contain the spread of communism in Southeast Asia. The roots of the Vietnam War can be traced back to the end of World War II, when the French, who had colonized Vietnam, attempted to regain control of their colony. The communist-led Viet Minh, led by Ho Chi Minh, fought against the French and gained control of North Vietnam. The Geneva Accords of 1954 split Vietnam into North and South, with a demilitarized zone between the two. Elections were scheduled to reunify the country, but they were never held. Instead, the United States supported the non-communist government in South Vietnam, fearing that a communist victory would lead to the spread of communism throughout the region. The United States' involvement in the Vietnam War escalated in the early 1960s, as President Lyndon B. Johnson sent more troops to the region to support the South Vietnamese government. The U.S. military relied heavily on aerial bombing campaigns to target communist forces and supply lines in North Vietnam, as well as to destroy infrastructure in the south that was being used by the Viet Cong, a communist guerrilla group that operated in South Vietnam. The war was widely unpopular in the United States, and anti-war protests became a common sight on college campuses and in cities throughout the country. The draft, which required young men to serve in the military, also sparked controversy and led to widespread opposition to the war. The Tet Offensive, launched by the Viet Cong in January 1968, was a turning point in the war. The offensive involved a series of surprise attacks on South Vietnamese cities and U.S. military installations, and it showed that the communist forces were stronger and more organized than previously believed. Although the U.S. military was eventually able to repel the attacks, the Tet Offensive was a significant blow to morale and sparked a reassessment of the war effort. In 1969, President Richard Nixon took office and began implementing a policy of Vietnamization, which involved shifting responsibility for the war effort to the South Vietnamese government and reducing the number of U.S. troops in the region. At the same time, Nixon expanded the bombing campaign in North Vietnam and launched secret bombing raids on neighboring Laos and Cambodia. In 1973, the United States and North Vietnam signed a peace agreement, and U.S. troops began to withdraw from the region. However, fighting continued between North and South Vietnam, and the South Vietnamese government struggled to maintain control of the country. In 1975, North Vietnamese forces launched a major offensive and quickly overran the South Vietnamese army. The fall of Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam, in April 1975 marked the end of the war. The Vietnam War had a profound impact on both the United States and Vietnam. In the United States, the war led to a loss of confidence in government and a questioning of traditional American values. The anti-war movement paved the way for greater social and political activism, particularly among young people, and the war remains a controversial and divisive issue in American history. In Vietnam, the war had a devastating impact on the civilian population. Estimates vary, but it is believed that between 1 and 3 million Vietnamese people were killed during the conflict, as well as hundreds of thousands of Cambodians and Laotians who were caught in the crossfire. The war also caused significant environmental damage, particularly from the widespread use of chemical weapons like Agent Orange. In conclusion, the Vietnam War was a complex conflict with deep political, social, and economic roots. It was one of the most divisive wars in modern history, and it left a lasting impact on the world. The war highlighted the limitations of military power and the importance of understanding the cultural and political context of conflicts before engaging in military action. The legacy of the Vietnam War continues to shape American foreign policy and military strategy today. It taught the United States that military intervention can have unintended consequences and that winning the hearts and minds of the local population is critical to success. It also led to changes in military tactics and strategy, such as a greater emphasis on special operations and counterinsurgency. In Vietnam, the war led to significant political and economic changes. Following the fall of Saigon, the country was reunified under a communist government. The government implemented a series of economic reforms in the 1980s and 1990s that led to rapid economic growth and development. Today, Vietnam is one of the fastest-growing economies in the world and a key player in the global economy. The Vietnam War was a complex and challenging conflict that tested the limits of American power and influence. It was a tragedy for both the United States and Vietnam, and it demonstrated the devastating impact that war can have on civilians and the environment. Although the war is now part of history, its legacy continues to shape the world today and serves as a reminder of the importance of diplomacy, dialogue, and understanding in resolving conflicts. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe and check out other videos on our channel. Thanks for watching.